Hello everyone. Welcome back to session 2 of my ShadowDark solo campaign. We're going to kind of fill in the gaps from session 1. I know I did a recap, but before I prepare session 2, I think through things and I ask some questions, especially ones that have come up in the comments. And I thought, oh yeah, those are some good questions, because a lot of times when you do something like this, things just get, so much going on, you miss things. And so what we're going to do at the beginning here, really quickly before we jump into an adventure, I already have the adventure rolled and ready to go. And I'm going to do that for each session, unless I start getting comments of people saying, hey, maybe have one session of real quick 10 minutes rolling up the next adventure. Just I can roll it up and kind of what I'm thinking before I prepare the next one. If that's something you'd rather see in the comments, that's fine. Normally I just roll it up because I want to see where I could tie it back to Ironbridge, as you'll see today. But if that's something you want to see, just let me know in the comments, and I can easily do, 10 minutes while I'm rolling up the new adventure, if that's something you guys want to see on a regular basis. Again, my channel is really based about getting people to play solo. It is my game as well, but I want to encourage people to solo play, because they're probably a lot like me. You don't get enough gaming in that you want to do, especially get older in life. And so my channel is really about the little bitty tips, things that I do. That's why I like to explain the little things if I need, just so that people can feel like they're along the journey with me. I'm learning, they're learning, and they just feel comfortable that we're all kind of doing this as a group solo play type of thing. So at the end of the last group, my party was 0 level characters. They went off to go find this missing hunter. They found a missing hunter, but they had to free him, but what that meant was that he had been trapped in a deadly trap, and they were able to free him and bring his body back. And so they were on their way back to Ironbridge and they had retrieved a circlet made of gold and silver and gold. And so they were coming back. And so some of the questions that I got was, because they did go to the Cursed Skull is the name of the citadel that is outside of town. That's the ruined citadel. Which is probably might become my quote mega dungeon. I'll think about that for my players. But one thing that I did was someone asked could the crown that they find be cursed? And I rolled extreme no. So it's not cursed. However, I did start thinking about, well, if this place is so close to town, why would this crown kind of still be there? And so I thought, well, could it be part of something deeper? And so I rolled and it said yes. And so I was like, okay, so I'm gonna keep that in mind. The other thing is I asked, does the apprentice that the party had met, does it stay with the party? And no, he doesn't. However, he will become an ally. And the reason I decided on him, that he doesn't stay with the party, but he becomes an ally, is because the next question, does the hunter that they rescued, which I rolled up his name, I don't know why I didn't do that earlier, Salazar Roos, does he have his own cabin? Is he part of is he a ranger who protects that part of the forest around? My whole area is covered in forest. So is he a ranger that does some kind of protective stuff? And so that was yes, he does have a cabin, and that is something he did. And that made it perfect for my story, because I wanted to move my 0 level characters to 1st level characters, and I wanted to justify their classes. So we're going to get that to the minute, because I'm going to show you them as 1st level characters now, and fill in a little of the backstory of kind of what happened to them, because they didn't just like immediately go back on another adventure. They have done things, and so that's how I justified them starting gold in equipment, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And so those are the big questions I had. Was the crown cursed? No. But is it involved in something deeper? Is something mysterious going on? And I got a yes on that. Does the apprentice stay with the party? No. However, he does become an ally. And does the hunter have a cabin? Yes, and that is now kind of where the party has decided to take up residence in a way. Not all of them, but it's kind of a base of headquarters for them. And what was funny was sometimes you can I do this if you go to the rival crawlers thing. You can get you find out the party name of the rival crawlers. Well, sometimes I do that for my group. Like if I'd have started with first level characters, I've done that where I get a name and what they're known for. But on this one, it's very interesting. I rolled to get a name for the party, just kind of see what comes up. And it's funny how the dice, it's almost like they just know. So the name I rolled for my group is the Iron Rangers, which is kind of funny because one of my characters was a ranger. The hunter they went and helped was basically a ranger type character who felt. So I think they might grow more into that name. I don't know what I would be calling it right now, but I did write it down for future reference if I want to pull that out and use it for something. So let's get to the characters real quick. So if you know my last 0 level characters, I had them on one sheet, and I had Serene, the human, street urchin. I had Imrid, the human ranger, as a background and as a class. I had Mill, who was a halfling surgeon, and then I had Ham, who was the halfling soldier. Those are the ones who went, survived. And so now I had to decide on how do I get them to first level and what would they become, right? Because I didn't really want it to be where just because, hey, he was a ranger and now he becomes a ranger. I want their story to progress in in a more organic manner. And so here's what I did. And also I kind of looked at their abilities and stuff. And so Sharon, the street urchin, she did become a thief. And so had a really good dex. So I made her a thief, first level thief, filled out her stuff. And what I did was that once they came back with this crown and people were kind of like amazed and that they brought the hunter back, that they started to get a little more jobs, little odd things that they could do. And so Serene kind of got into the local Thieves Guild, got invited to it. And so she started to develop some training. She was on the street before. So she had a little bit of contacts of maybe friends who had already got kind of picked up into the small Thieves Guild that's developing around there. And so she became one, did a couple odd jobs, and that's how she was able to afford her starting gold. Because, once you get first level, you roll for starting gold. And I was like, well, how did I justify this? And so that's how I did it. When they become what they become, the time between their first adventure and this next adventure that we're going to do was a time for them to do smaller little things, right? And so she becomes a thief, and I used her. They have not sold the crown yet. They just held on to it. But I used the money that they got from their odd jobs is how they were able to get her gear. So Sharon, human, she became a thief. Now Imrid, who was a background of a ranger, this is where my the last Iron Soul, the apprentice, comes into my story. Because as you remember, Imrib did not have a weapon. He carried the torch, but he was friends with the hunter. And so he was the one who came and got everybody to go on the adventure. Well, Imrib, I was feeling that maybe Imrid is not, even though he's a ranger type and he might use a bow and arrow or something to hunt and do those type of things, that he is not someone who wanted to be into combat directly type of thing. And so he was intrigued with Iron Soul, and Iron Soul agreed to allow him to see if he could become a wizard. And so Imrid gets picked up. He works with Iron Soul, or Iron Soul helps him with his magic. And so now Imrid has picked up the ability to be a wizard. And so when I rolled on the talents, I rolled to give them their talents, and they got, being humans, they got 2, and he got +2 his intelligence, but his other one I rolled a 10, and he was able to get pick another spell. So it looks like he's pretty adept at it. So he has 4 spells, and so Imriv is, though he has a ranger background, he's a woodsy type of guy, and I love that, that all wizards are not, wearing a robe and a pointy hat, and they have certain stories. That he was a guy who lived in the woods. He was out there hanging with the hunter, and now he is basically taken over the responsibilities because he feels obligated to still be that ranger protector, but he doesn't do it with a shield and stuff. He does it with his magic, with his bow and stuff. He does it with his magic, but he's got his buddies now. He's got Sharin, who's his friend, and then the other 2. So I kind of did a switch. So Mill, who is a surgeon, he becomes a fighter, and so he decides that he's lawful. He's seen enough of, he knows what violence can do to the body, and so it's kind of a defender protector thing. He wants to become a little more martial in his abilities, so he's the one that I have that becomes a fighter, because at the time he had a really good strength and a good dex, and I really want to balance their abilities, but I also want to kind of zig on their stories a little bit. So him becoming a surgeon medic, he becomes more of a combat. Now he becomes more of a combat. He's going to get a little more of that fighter skill in him. And then the last character was Ham. And if you remember, Ham had the background of a soldier. But one thing that was interesting about Ham when I did the random generator with him was he was the only one who had a deity of Madeira. So I made him, as a former soldier, become a priest. More of maybe a paladin like, because as you look in the titles of that are here, you see the priest, if they're lawful, they're an acolyte, a crusader, a templar, champion, a paladin. So I wanted him to follow this path. So him using his martial prowess already from being a soldier, I thought it would be good for his story to develop that way. And so we'll see. And then it allows me, instead of using a surgeon becomes a priest, the soldier becomes a priest, I get to, kind of play with those. And like I said, I wanted one of each class. I didn't want to do 2 fighters, 2 clerics, or whatever. So that's what I did. So he is Madeira, and it plays into today's adventure. So the one thing I rolled the adventure, and we'll flip back here. And oh, by the way, just real fast, people ask me about, they do see the map that I use back here. This is the map done by the Runehammer, Hankern Furnau, Brandon Gilmish. I wanted something that was, I had this, I do have his game, I'm a patron of Runehammer, and so I liked, and I also use his dice, that's what these are, but he made character sheets for ShadowDark that I really, really like, and so, I just like his aesthetic. I wish there was a place to put a portrait, but I do love the aesthetic of the character sheet. I love the eye and him incorporating the eye and everything, so all my stuff's Runehammer. I'll put something down below if you guys are interested in his stuff. I love his art. I love his channel. A ton of DM advice. So there's my, I guess, my advertisement for him. Not a paid one, but I've talked to him before. He's a great dude. So the next adventure I rolled the adventure first before I did all this. And so you can go back and see how I designed adventures. You want to see how I do all the rolls. But what I rolled the adventure was Spy on the Demon of the Ancient Lineage, and the adventure site was the ruins of the Lost Twilight. It's a medium site. The site type will be ruins, and then the danger was going to be risky, and so risky, and that's that's how much you should roll for wandering encounters. And so I rolled up the dungeon, and so I did my method, and this one's a little bit different than the first one, and because I was kind of showing y'all how I do it. I'm a straight down guy. When I go point, instead of having a design of a dungeon. You guys can do whatever you want. This is just how I like to play, because I like to streamline, I like to get it done, and that's one of the things I'm trying to tell people about solo play. You can do it a lot of different ways. I'm more based upon like episodes of kind of jumping around, not one where I pick up right where the last one left off. My characters will jump and move. I will fill in their story in between. In fact, if I get to a point of Ironbridge and I want to move them somewhere else, I will just use my world thing. I'll create another one of these, and I'll just attach it. So they'll go from this city and maybe to another city and do more adventures. Once I'm done with this. I mean, that's the flexibility of the system. But so I went ahead and I rolled up Spy on the Demon of Ancient Lineage and the Ruins of the Lost Twilight. So I had to figure out, okay, how does this Spy on the Demon come organically from my starting town? So I go back to Ironbridge and I look, and I have 3 temples, and I have a temple. And what's interesting is that each temple, the modest temple, each one I have a lawful, neutral, and a chaotic temple. Also, what I have is, so I looked and I saw, because the reason I have a lawful temple ran by an elf, and so that one is a neutral, so that's dedicated to Ord. I had a chaotic, which is dedicated to Minion, and then I had my lawful, which is Madeira, and that just makes sense because Ham is a priest of Madeira, and this is where he goes for training and doing the things that he's doing and worship and all that type of stuff, where he'll dedicate some of his money and stuff. And so when I was looking, if you remember when I created my NPCs down here in the stock and pillories area of Ironbridge is basically the law enforcement, right? The stock and pillories. This is the whole area that is dedicated to where the city guard would probably come out of, the city watch, and who is over that is Mora. And Mora, the halfling, just happens to be, her secret is that she's half a demon. So I was like, oh, spying on a demon, what is going on? And the other thing that I was starting to think about was the rumors that when my party came back with this treasure, and they were talking around town, especially the rare and exotic good, I have 2 of those shops, they basically were surprised that there was still treasure to be found and the ruins so close to town, because they had thought that everything had been taken from there. And so to find a crown in a spot that had probably already been searched by looters back, they were kind of amazed why that was happening. And when I rolled and I said, is this crown bigger than it's not cursed, but there's something big going on? And I got yes. And I started to think that maybe all this stuff is starting to tie together. And so one of the things I also thought about was when they came back, you would probably start seeing more people going out there trying to find the same kind of loot like they did. And so I rolled, and it was yes that they did, but again, majority of them were not coming back. Some were coming back with stuff, and some weren't. And so, but my group was like, well, we're not really going back yet. We're trying to, they're working on themselves and doing little odd jobs and stuff for the temple and stuff. So, but, as people started going, they started hearing rumors and stuff, because, I want it to be kind of like a living town. These things are, and I'm starting to develop my rumor base, right? And so it's still out there, but I'm thinking that what's going on is that, so I said, well, I wrote down the question here in my book. I said, is there something going on between Willie, the halfling who runs the temple dedicated to Menon, and he has deep gambling debts and stuff? Is there something? And he's a young halfling child, which is very interesting for a child, gambling debt, but it is what it is. Maybe it's his family's gambling debt, and he's trying to. His family's in deep gambling debt. That'd make more sense. And that he is somehow comes to the Temple of Menon because he's trying to. It was to him it feels like it's an unlawful debt, and so he's trying to find a way to get it back. And so maybe he teams up. I said, well, maybe he teams up with Mora, who's a half demon, to start something going on. There's something going on between them. And so I said, yeah, is there something going on? And I said, yes, there is. And so so what I figured out is that Ravos, who is the head of the Temple of Madeira has asked Ham if him and his group can go spy. That he's heard that there are, and we saw this in my when I created my here at the ancient dolmens on Hiram, this part of the forest is home to a religious cult, and so I thought, okay, well, here I go. I have a place that is an ancient, because I have spy on a demon of ancient lineage, and so ruins of the lost twilight. So I know what this place is called now, is the ruins of the lost twilight. That Ravos has been hearing something that might be going down because of all these strange occurrences that are going on at the curse citadel of the cursed skull, with treasures kind of starting to show up, but he's been hearing about these strange happenings that have been going on up at the dolmens, the ancient dolmens, and so he asked them to see if something's going on. Well, I rolled up my adventure, and one of the things that I did was when I rolled through my adventure, and we'll go through this real quick, and how this all kind of ties together. I know it's a little complicated, but here's how it goes. Well, so I rolled up my adventure, and what I did was it was medium size, so we know there's 8 dice. So I put my 8 hexes, I rolled my dice, I filled them in with my numbers, and always the last number is where the objective is, or the boss monster, or whatever is always the last thing. So all I did is I rolled a 10 somewhere, and I switched it with that number, and that's how I built my adventure. And so as we go through the adventures, you have the entrance. The first part is I rolled a treasure, which is a hidden treasure. I rolled that up based upon the level of the creatures who are in here as a 0 through 3. The second one, I got a trap. It's a toxic trap. Then I got an empty, and then I got an NPC who is hiding, and I rolled him up. Then I got another empty, and then I got a captive NPC, and then I got another empty, and then I got my boss monster. And so I knew going in that it was in search of the demon, so I knew that I needed to have my boss monster, or whatever's at the end of this has to be something to do with the demon. And so I went and I looked, and I wanted to find a demon that was not too powerful for my group, but one that would be a challenge if they ended up having to fight one. And so, however, the adventure was spy on the demon. It wasn't fight the demon. So we'll see how this goes. But so I rolled, and I figured the one thing about the boss detail is guarded by minions. And so if it's a demon, it's cultists. And so I rolled, and I was like, well, how many cultists are there? It would be 4 if you're balancing it for the party. So I said, well, is there more than 4? And I rolled an 11, which is a twist on the chart. So I tell you, sometimes the dice just know. So I rolled on the dice to get my ShadowDark prompts. And I rolled for the verb sneaky, and then I rolled journey. So I was like, well, that fits perfectly, because they had heard that maybe something's going on. So it was there wasn't more than 4, but because it's a sneaky journey, they're going up there to do what they're going to do. And so basically they're going up, and it kind of makes sense on my dungeon as you'll see it as well, but they're going up there to the ancient dolmens to try to pull a demon out, of the ancient lineage, and our adventurers are following the sneaky cultists. They followed the sneaky cultists up there. The sneaky cultists have not seen them, and they've gone in to the dungeon. And so I also rolled, like, is the dungeon entrance supernatural? Because dolmens are kind of like Stonehenge, right? These stacked up stones and stuff like that. And it was yes. So I basically is saying that one of these Stonehenges is that what they're going into is going to be ruins that were some kind of supernatural ruins that are attached, that a gateway is here at this dolmens. Okay, so my party has made it to the door. Some adventures I might roll as they travel for random encounters, but really right now I just want to make it where, like I said, I like the old books like excuse me, Conan and Fitzleiber and all that, where you pick up at the middle of adventure. Sometimes you don't pick up with them traveling, you pick them in the middle of it. So you can, if you want, in your adventure, if you want to roll for each hex, then feel free. I mean, really, I could go and say they're going to go through hex number 7, which is risky. And what I would do with that is that you roll a d6 every 3 rounds. But what I would end up doing is just grabbing 3 6-sided dice, and I'd roll, and if I got a 1, then they would have a random encounter in there, and then I could make it morning, afternoon, night, you know, if I want to color my dice. But today, I'm letting them just travel on up towards these dolmens, and I will be adding roads on here, by the way. But to these dolmens, and at the adventure, they're at the beginning, they're there at night, they approach, and they don't see any guards because there's only 4 cultists, and it's a sneaky journey, right? So they're not going to take more, and they go into this supernatural doorway and they see him. And so that's where I'm starting, is my party is at the entrance. And so all 4 of my characters, Shireen and Rib, Mill and Ham, are ready to go in. And so they come into the first room, and when they pass through the portal, and they find themselves in these ancient ruins. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine room 1 and 3, because the first room was a hidden golden monkey with a ruby in its mouth worth 60 gold. Well, and then my next one is a large toxic trap, and it's triggered by removing an object. So what I decided to do is make it where they come in, and so the cultists know that they don't have guards, they don't have sentries. So what they've done is they've set up a trap that you come in, and on this pedestal sits a gold monkey with a ruby. And there's a reason also for this, is because these type of rich trinkets type of things have been showing up around town, and it kind of ties in that all of a sudden these old dungeons of the Cursed Skull is now giving treasure and loot again somehow in mysterious places. And they go here, and there's just, right when they walk in, is a very expensive 60 gold piece is right there sitting on a pedestal. And so as they walk in and they're looking around, and the place is already lit by torches, because the cultists, because they're humanoid, can't see in the dark. And so the place is, as they walk in, it's already in the ruined spots where they used to have places for torches and stuff. It's already lit with torches and maybe some candles down as it weaves through these ruins. And so they come in and they see it. And so the first thing they're going to do is Seren, the human, she is going to approach it and look it over and find out. As they look around, they don't see anybody around them. She's going to go and approach it and see if she can notice if there is a trap on there. And so because I rolled on the creation of my trap as a large toxic trap, I'm going to make it for her, because she does get I'm going to make it hard, a little bit harder, only just because this seems to be the main defense of these of the cultists, right? This is kind of like the main defense to this adventure. I didn't roll a lot of cultists. Yes, there could be a demon at the end of it, but they're on a mission to summon this demon, to pull this demon in, or to offer sacrifices to it. You know, I haven't decided. I'm going to roll when I get there. But and so they would make this trap would be a little bit more complicated, but because she's of her abilities, it will give she gets advantage because of her thieving abilities. So let's see what happens. And if she does doesn't disarm the trap, which means that she decides no, and she reaches and then she does grab it. So let's see, she needs a 15, so she rolled a 14, and she has +3 to her dexterity, I believe. Yep. So she's able to see that it's a trap, and so she decides, she lets them know, she says, hey, this is some type of trap, and the question is this one, she knows that it's a trap. I'm gonna roll for her separate to see if she can disarm the trap. And for this, I'm gonna make that a little more extreme, just for the simple fact that, again, which is an 18, I like the fact that this is their one defense going in here. So this is gonna be a little bit better designed, and it's dynamic and can't speak. It's demon made. You know, I mean, you know, this is a place that is not. It's in a separate world. This is a little bit more complicated, and her being low, so I'm gonna make it an 18, but I'm gonna give her an advantage. So she doesn't the first time. 18. So she is able to figure out a way to disarm the trap, which is nice. And so, however, she disarms the trap, but she's going to leave. She's going to know how to disarm it, but she's going to leave it for right now, because she's just like, hey, I know how to get this when we leave, but I'm not going to set it off. I'm not going to go ahead and disarm it right this moment. So let's just continue in and see what's going on. So they head down to the empty rooms. And so the next room's an empty room. And so my, you know, I always say with empty rooms that they give you kind of a clue to your party. And so what I'm going to let them know is that they look around and they're able to see infernal, what they would think to be, well, the human wizard will see diabolic. He's got diabolic as a language, and he's able to notice that the diabolic language that was carved in the ruins that are here. And as they move along, he starts to see more and more of that that the rumors that they hear of this being some kind of cult that has something to do with demons is definitely going on here. Also, this is where I'm going to make a random roll, because it is a risky dungeon. And so I want to make, so what I did was every time they hit an empty room, which is basically after every room, I am going to make a random roll to see if one of the cultists does come down the hallway. So let's make a random, and I'm not going to roll a D3. I'm just going 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to roll to see if a random encounter comes, if one of the cultists comes. Yes, so a cultist does come down the hallway. The question is, does he surprise them, or do they surprise one another? Let's just roll to see if he surprises them. I'm just going to do the oracle because I can't remember the thing on the top. No, he is not surprised, and neither are they. Does he, what is his reaction roll? Which is not going to be neutral. The question is does he flee when he sees 4 of them and he's just by himself? Oh, that's the question. Is he by himself? No, he is not by himself. So how many of the, is it 2 of them? Because I don't think all 4 of them would go, because the other 2 would have, someone have to be involved in the ritual. Is it more than 2? 19. It is more than 2. Wow, could it be the whole group and they have already coming back from summoning the demon? That would be what it would be. So all 4 of the cultists are coming back and have already done what they had went to go do, and the party doesn't know. Did they summon a demon, or they bring in a sacrifice? What do they bring in? And so they all meet right here, and so combat will begin right at the beginning. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, well, you know what? The question would be: is it the cultists, or have they already unleashed a demon? That might be a little bit more So it's a 9. They have not unleashed the cultist, the demon. So it is the cultist. How did I phrase that? Is it the cultist or is it the demon? Now I'm gonna say if it was a demon, so it'd have been new. So the cultists are there. They see them. I already wrote what I did this time is I wrote my cultist statistics here, and so I wouldn't have to go back and forth to the book. I knew there was 4 of them, and so we're going to have an initiative. Let me get another dice so I can make. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do group initiatives just because it would be a little faster than sitting here going, hey, here's the cultists. And I know those are the rules, but it's, you know, I'm sure Kelsey wouldn't mind. So the white is going to be our party. The black will be the cultists. All right, so the party will go first, 16 to 5. So I'm just going to go down the order in which they're in. And so how they would work would be that I'm going to have the range go first, which would be Imrib. He would unleash a magic missile at one of them right off the bat. The magic missile's like 1 to 4. Jeez, man. One day I will put things on my book, so I would also, as I told you guys, I was getting over a cold, so I'm a little bit out of that. So, cast it. So he's going to cast a spell. Oh, a natural 20. Sweet. The bolt of 4 streaks from your open hand, dealing damage. So it doesn't have a mishap. If you roll a natural 20 on a spell casting, you may double one of the spell's numeral effects. This remains in effect on a focus spell until your next one. So nice. So he's going to do 2d4. Wow, man. He's used to this magic now. Did a 1d4, so it'll be 2d4. 3. And they have 9 hit points. 3, 6. One of them takes 6. Let me get my card here. So I got 4 cultists. 9. So I'm going to just split them up between the 4. So I'm going to say Serene and Bib, Ham, and Mill. So he does. So that was down to 3. Nice. And so let's see who else. If I have another. So Ham will let loose. As the soldier from the, as the priest, he's going to let loose a bolt with his crossbow. 12. And he has no. And I think their armor. Well, I should have wrote this. Their armor class is 14, so they're able to deflect it. And then, so the Shireen will run and do her attack with a dagger. She's going to throw a dagger. That's what she does. She throws her dagger. So she's with a 16, so she hits 1d4. And she does 4 points of damage. She only has 2 daggers, so she can't get rid of too much because it takes slots. And then good old Mill with his he has a short bow. Well, he's got +2 to hit. So let's roll with that. He rolls a 10. He misses. Okay, so the cultists will engage. They have spears. So that's the first thing they're going to do is use their spears. So they're going to chunk of spears. Now they are still first level characters, and I did not roll really well on hit points. So let's see. The first one on Serene, where you switch your spear. Yeah, 4 cultists could be dead. 15. AC, that hits with their spear, and the spear does 1. They got +2 to hit on the cultist. Yikes. It's a spear 1d8. $1d6. I'm not some kind of man. Oh, sorry, not a spear, it's a spell. So what they're going to do is they'll probably use the same, but they're going to swing their long sword first, so they'll do 1d8. I wrote down my handwriting. Do 2 points to Serene, so I'm going to put her down here so I don't, oops, I'm going to put their hit points above. And so she is down to 1 hit point. The next is going to, let's see, I'm going to make it random this time. For their, let's see, 1d6. Low, they use their sword. High, they use their death touch. He uses his death touch. It's going to make his roll. This is on Imrid. Well, no, Imrid was, yeah, 16. Oh my goodness, he made it. 2d4 to 1 creature within close. So he moves and does 2d4 to my, this might be the end of my party right at the beginning. 2, 5 to Imrid, and he has 1. That's right, I rolled 1 hit point. So there goes my hero. So he has a dying character, does 1d4 plus a constant on their turn. They die in as many rounds or healed unless they're stabilize. So let's go ahead and get the timer on him. I don't think his constitution's very good because that's what caused him to go to 1 hit point, because he has -1 on his roll. So he has, he's got 4 rounds to get to. All right. So I put my line there so I'll know when to count. All right, down he goes. Next one runs up to Mill, and he is going to do a d6 for what he's going to do. He's using his sword. He misses, and then he runs up to Ham. It's going to get 1d6. Is it going to be spell? Nope, it's going to be the sword. 15. He ends up hitting Ham, who, I don't know why, but I should have had him cast a spell last time. It's okay. And they do 1d8. Oh, 1 point to Ham. Okay, so Ham is still standing. Okay, so next round. 7, so the party goes first. They are in some trouble. Probably get a good time to flee out of here, because all they had to do was spy, but they really want to know okay, I know what they're going to do. So they are going to, Serene is going to tell them the fallback. And she's going to turn, because she threw a dagger, even though they ran and engaged. There isn't any I'm double checking, but there doesn't seem to be any. Yeah, I was bad with my party. I should have had her scouting ahead, and they might not have gotten us trouble because they were being sneaky. However, they're a young party and they're overconfident. Okay, so there isn't for anything for them to move. They can move and get out of combat. So she's going to move back out of combat, and she's going to turn, and she's going to dash into the other room. And so she's going to kind of dash back towards the idol. And so for the two halflings on their turn, they're both going to turn. They're going to use their ability, their halfling ability, and turn invisible. And leave. And that will leave. At the time, it will leave. You can become invisible for 3 rounds once per day. So they are going to turn invisible. Both of them will become invisible. So I'm putting a little eye in here with a little eye. So they're both going to turn invisible for this round. And then Ironbridge is going to take, he's going to go down to 3 rounds. Okay. And so the cultists see them go disappear, and they see the thief run. And so the question is going to be, do they pursue the thief? Do they pursue Serene? 14, yes, they pursue her. And so what she's going to do is she's going to run into the room, and they're chasing after her. And as she goes, as she's heading towards the exit, she is going to knock she's going to knock because remember, she did not disarm the trap. So she is going to knock, she's going to grab the monkey statue off the thing and jump out the door. And so as soon as she does that and she goes out the door, that's going to be her move. So I'm going to give her rank 1. So should we have 1 step ahead? Well, what I'll do is I'll roll a niche, because there might be a chance with this round, because she moved and they moved, so they could maybe catch her. So let me roll a niche. I think that would be fair. It's a tie. And so, but she has a +3 dex, and they have as cultists. Didn't I write it? I don't have much space, and so maybe I should write this on different things, but this is driving, must be driving all crazy because it's driving me. But their dexterity of a cultist is -1. So she beats them on initiative. She grabs a monkey and jumps out. And when she does that, the trap goes off. And the trap is, she doesn't know this, but is if you remove the object, it paralyzes everyone in there for 1d6 rounds. And let me see if they got a save. It lets go a toxic fume that 114. This is how I built my trap. I went to 114 and built it. And it said it was a large toxic trap. So I looked at large toxic and I just did a trigger and what the effect was. So it's 1d. So it's 2d. No, it's 1d6 paralyzed toxic trap. So, because I had rolled on a d12 what the trigger was and what the effect was, and it is 1d6 paralyzed. So she grabs the monkey. She jumps out the door, the 2 halflings are going to stay in the room because they see them chasing after her, because they're worried about Imrib. And for 5 rounds, so that paralyzes the cultists. Cultists are paralyzed for 5 rounds. Okay, and here's the critical point. It's like for each step in my, when they're going, it counts as a turn or a round. So, wait, does it says 1 to 6 paralyzed? Is it? I'm gonna guess it's got to be rounds. And so, there's a sound of so the halflings stay, and they are going to help stabilize. They're going to help stabilize Imrib, because let's see if they can do it. It's a DC 15. It says I got 2 of them. I'm going to roll 2 dice for them. 14 on one of them. So let's see. It's an intel check. I'm not going to look. I'm going to say the black dice is, well, we'll make it ham. Ham has, +2 intelligence. So glad I put ham. I couldn't remember. I thought the priest would probably be smarter. So ham is, being a soldier, knows how to stabilize him. And so he starts him, but he's still unconscious. So there is a so how is it toxic gas? And so how long does the gas last? So let's in the area before it dissipates. And let me see if they would have a way to dissipate it. Let's see. Let me look at their spells. Patient from evil, shield of faith. So he has nothing that can do this. I forgot. They still have their luck tokens. So what I'm going to do, so they can be invisible for 3 rounds. They're going to be let me see how long the gas lasts. Let me see. Does the gas last the same? D4 will be no. D6 will be, because I don't want to know how much it would take the toxic to dissipate. I'm just going to roll a D6. Let's see. 1. Okay, so it dissipates in 1 round. So they're basically. So they turn invisible here. It takes them 1 round to get to this room. I know I combined them, but I'm still making this a 2-round corridor. So they will be able to get out of the entrance. What I'm going to roll is there's a dwarf who is hiding under here, who is hiding in the next room. I'm going to see if he hears conflict and if he looks out and sees what's going on. Because if not, they have got enough that is going on that they have spy on the demon. They know that there is a ruins there's a supernatural way of getting to a set of ruins. There's diabolical ruins in here, and they have the cultists. So, but they can't carry their friend out yet, and so. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have the halflings go forward, and while the cultists are paralyzed, they're going to go ahead and dispatch the, I'm not going to roll and sit here and do damage. I mean, they're paralyzed. They can't move. He's a soldier. He's a surgeon. They know how to kill people. And so they are going to dispatch the cultists there at the end. And then they will step out, call Serene back. Their invisibility will be gone. So their invisibility has already been used for today. They're going to come back and see what's going on. And so they're going to see if the hiding dwarf sees them coming by. All right, so what they're going to do is they're going to all come back. They're going to heal. I don't think he has a Cure Light Wound spell. So for I'm going to make the combat here. They might have to leave. So he's still unconscious. How long would it take him to get that healing back? I can't remember what the healing is in here. Sorry, I should know, but I read and play a lot of games, and I can't remember one from the other. Resting, 86, that's going to be it. Consume a ration and sleep for 8 hours. Okay, so that is not going to be, but here's what we'll do. I'm going to roll because there's a dwarf who is hiding, who is extravagant. He has extravagant wealth, he's lawful. He sees the party. Does he hear the combat and come back and check? 16, he does. So he comes out, he sees the halfling. Serene comes back, sees the dead cultist. She comes back in, it comes up and sees that Rib is down, and they become kind of, you know, spent time together and close and stuff. And so, but she sees that he is not going to be able to be moved right now, and they're all going to have to get help. So this dwarf comes out, and what I'm going to ask the Oracle is, does this dwarf, who's extravagantly wealthy, he's lawful, he was there for a reason, and that is that up further in the adventure is a captive, and so this dwarf came to find this elf that had been captive, and so the elf had been captive by these cultists, and so the dwarf had come up to see what he could do, and he is hiding when he saw that the cultists were coming back, and he doesn't know what happened to his friend, because I have an NPC up here who's been a captive human adult. It's a female called Hellerin, and so the dwarf's name is Coravel. So Coravel comes out of hiding, and here's the question: does Coravel have some type of magical healing on him? He's wealthy. It says that his wealth is extravagant, and he might have, going into trouble, he might have purchased some items, or he might have something on him that could help. So let's see. And I forgot what's his name, being a surgeon, that he should have been able to. Man, I have got to get on my game, but I'm sorry guys, I've been sick all week, and so today's the day when I've just kind of felt a little bit better. He's a surgeon, knows anatomy, surgery, and first aid, so that would have gave him benefit on rolling, but there isn't a way to get the first aid out here. So I'm going to see if this, we're going to let the dice choose, does this dwarf have something on here that can heal Imran? 9. Nope, he does not. So he comes out of hiding, and they all look at him, and they pull out their weapons, and he's got his hands up, and he's like, you know, help, you know, I need help. My friend was taken by those cultists, and she's further down, and I don't know what has happened to her. And so, but will you help me, or at least to see if we can save her? She was taken captive by these cultists, and I'm worried that they have used her for something diabolical. And so what they decide to do is, the two halflings say, we were going to stay here, and Serene says, I will stay here with them. I will sneak forward and see if I can find out what's going on. And so, but before she goes, I wish I'd have done this earlier, but Ham is going to stand up, and he's going to cast, try to cast protection from evil protection of evil upon her, before she goes, because I think I know it can go on her, because I think Shield of Faith is only on him. And so protection from evil for the spell's duration. Oh, it's a focus. So he's going to have to focus with her. So, well, that makes focus to cast it. So what he's not going to cast it on her then, because if he has a duration of focus on it, and it has to be close range, that would mean that he would have to be close with her, and I'm not going to do that. So anyway, she is going to decide. That's the problem with playing a zillion editions of D&D. You can't remember which spells are which, and I don't have this book memorized. So she's going to stealthily move down the hall, and so let's see. She's going to move stealthily. She doesn't that one, and she gets. Wait, I'm rolling on the wrong. Oh, wrong thing. I mean, stealthy. She has thievery. So she's what? Ooh, she is. Oh. All she's got to do is roll under her. What am I thinking? All she's got to do is. No, it would be a difficulty check. Sneaking up on an inattentive guard. So she would need a 9. She rolled a 7. She got +3. So she is kind of. So she moves up the passageway by herself. She pulls her. She got her dagger back from the one that was sticking in, and she's got her dagger out. And she's moving stealthily up the parkway. And what she does is she comes through. I know the random encounters now. Here's the thing. It wasn't the demon, but did they finish cast? Is their ritual cast and the demon is here now, or is the? And then I'll roll to see if I roll a random encounter. It is going to be that the demon is here, and they're coming down. So if not, he's still in the other room. So when she goes to the next room. Oof, I almost. So no, he is not out. She goes to where the captive is going to be, and the question is the captive already been killed, or is the ritual is complete, or is the captive still here waiting to be sacrificed? So let's roll. 12. She is still here waiting to be sacrificed. So. So Serene, if she's going to silence her, let her know that they're here, and when the captive sees her and she's tied up, she whispers to her for a minute, like, be quiet, and she goes on, and she's going to go to the last and peer into the room to see if the ritual, what was going on. And so here's the thing: is like, this will be the ritual chamber. The question is, was the cultist just bringing the captive here for the priest to come later and do the ritual, or is the demon already here? And I know when I rolled that I have that there's a boss in here and there's a demon, and so that would kind of make it seem that the demon is already here. However, I'm going to roll to see, because one of the things about, I know this is a set adventure, but one of the things I do like to do is, like, even in my set adventure, to give me that randomness of what's going on. It's not like they walk in a room and there he is. It's let's walk in a room and see what is going on. So I am kind of surprised as the DM with my players. So let's roll, and we're going to see if the demon has already been summoned. Yes, he has already been summoned. So is he? So he's here. He is in a room. Is he locked up in is he like in a position where he will come down the hall? Is he locked into there's a not a cage, but there's a magical cage holding him there, in that, or is he sleeping and that later on, I know it's weird to say demon sleeping, or is he engaged in some other way and that he'll get the sacrifice later? Might have been that this sacrifice is for later on. And he might already be consuming one, and that this is the one that's captive. And so let me see if he is in a magical barrier. Oh, an 11. So that's a twist. So let's see. Man, I love the twist. And again, if yes, you can make your adventure and you can set it up. But if you want it to have the randomness of as if there's the DM is there, it's always good in the different rooms, especially when there's creatures involved and stuff, to roll and see what happens. So here's the prompt. Let's see what I get. Well, it'd be nice if you rolled a D10. 09, imbue. Man, I rolled a 0. Imbue lie. Imbue lie. Imbue lie. Man, I rolled a bunch of double zeros on this thing. Imbue lie. It'd been nice to run 0 zeros because then I would have ran release power, and that would have known. Imbue a lie. Now, could it be lie as in he's lying? Okay. I'm going to use, well, lie would be the verb. However, it could be he's lying. He's lying down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use it as imbue lied, is that he is not captive. However, and he's not captive by a cage, but he is magically subdued. He is imbued with a lying spell or something that keeps him pacified. So that's what I'm going to use that as far as imbue lie, because I can't think of another. It's not a conversation that's going on, and unless here's the question: if I'm going to make it as well, it's the noun, imbue lie. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have it that he is pacified, and that he is in some kind of slumber. However, he is a hideous-looking creature, and Serene is not going anywhere near this creature. It's better for her to live and fight. She was just called on. They were just to get information, so that's what they're going to do. So she's going to go back. She's going to free the Hilivir, and she's going to... Hilverine is her name, Hilverine. She's going to free Hilverine, and they're going to grab Ironbridge, and they're going to get him, they're going to get out of here. And so they're going to make it back, heading back to Ironbridge with him. They're going to also take, they're going to something off the cultist's body that will show unholy symbol, that they're going to grab one of those off of them, and let me see what other treasures they would have on them. But they're going to take something to show people that these creatures, that there is something going on, because that's what they were sent to do. And